In this video, I'm going to cover the transmission in the Suzuki LT500R quad racer, also known as the Quadzilla. Mike Sabo did a really nice video a while back on the Quadzilla motor and the rebuild, but he didn't cover the transmission gear sets and the assembly in that video. So in this video, I'm going to cover the complete transmission, assembly, and what to look for when examining parts for excessive wear. And I'll also try to cross-reference the sections in the manual, just like Mike did in his motor build video. Okay, so I'm going to start with the counter shaft, which is this here. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the second drive gear and the fourth drive gear. You're also going to have a washer after the fourth drive gear and a snap ring. So you're going to use your snap ring pliers, remove your snap ring, next, you're going to remove your third drive gear. I'm going to set these in order. And you're going to have another snap ring. And it's going to be another washer. And then you're going to remove the top drive gear. Okay, now we're going to examine the counter shaft and the drive gears for wear. First thing that you want to do is take a look at the teeth. Make sure the teeth are all in good shape. Don't have any excessive wear marks. Check the edges of the gears. Make sure there's no excessive wear there. And you also want to check the inside where it rides on the shaft. And for some of the gears, the ones that slide back and forth with the shift forks, then that could affect your shifting. This one's in good shape. We're going to take a look at the fourth drive gear. And we're going to check inside here. You can see that looks nice and clean. We're going to check the dogs to see if there's any excessive wear on the dogs. This has a little bit of wear on this edge. So next I'm going to check the third drive gear. I'm going to check the dogs just like I did on previous gear. These look to be in good shape. These look to be in good shape on this side. I'm going to check the teeth. They look good. We're going to check the inside that rides on the shaft. That looks clean. And then we're also going to check inside where the shift fork rides. This has a little bit of wear. I'm going to take the shift fork. I'm going to place it inside. So now I'm going to reference the manual for the service limit for the fork clearance inside this groove. So the manual says that I should have 0.1 to 0.3 millimeter of clearance. So I have 0.28 thickness gauge, and that's tight. It doesn't get in there. So let me go down a little bit. All right, so I'm going to go down a little bit. This is 0.23. And that fits in there. So we're within the service limit for the clearance in this gear groove. So next I'm going to inspect the top drive gear. And this shows a considerable amount of wear on the dogs. So I'm going to be replacing this gear. You also want to check the inside for any grooving. That looks good. I already know that I'm going to replace this gear. Now I want to show you what a gear looks like that has that grooving on the inside of the gear. So this gear, if you look on the inside of this, I don't know if your camera's going to pick that up, but this has some excessive wear inside of here. What you'll notice on the shaft where that rides, which is right here, you also have that excessive wear. And that's why I'm going to be replacing this shaft as well as this gear. I have the replacement set here. So you want to inspect all those pieces of the gears before you put your transmission together and make sure that you're not going to have any continued issues. You want to check your threads, make sure your threads are good. You want to check these channels that the gears slide on. You want to make sure that you don't have any grooving going on in here. You can see some discoloration here where the gears have ridden or the bearings. And as long as you don't feel any excessive grooving, that should be okay. I mean, these are old, so they are going to show some wear. Check on this side as well. Running my finger across here just to make sure that they're smooth. This gear had some excessive wear from shift forks. And you can see inside of this channel where the shift fork rides that there's some pieces of metal from the shift fork that have gotten stuck in this groove. So I'm going to keep this as a spare. If I need to, I can always have a machinist just clean that up because the dogs look good on this. There's just a little bit of excessive wear there. And you can see some discoloration in this gear too. So now I'll get into the assembly. So let's begin installing the gears on the shafts. And in case you're not sure which gears are what, you may know, you may not, I'll give you measurements for each of these gears so you make sure that they're going in the correct place. So the first gear that I'm going to be installing on the drive shaft is the second driven gear. This gear measures about 16.5 millimeters wide and about 72 millimeters diameter. Inner bore of the gear, about 27.5 millimeters. So I'm going to install that with the gear dogs facing this way. So next, I'm going to put on my washer. So you have a couple of different washers in the transmission. You really can't put them in the wrong place because they're different sizes. They just won't fit on the shaft. This one, you know, obviously it's not going to go here because it wouldn't fit on the shaft. So slide on that washer and I'm going to put on the snap ring. Just gonna make sure that's in the groove. Okay, so next we're gonna be installing the fourth driven gear. Now this is gonna get put on with the groove for the shift fork to the left-hand side, or facing the long part of the shaft. And make sure that slides back and forth easily. Next we're gonna install the third driven gear. This gear is 18 millimeters thick and 66 millimeter diameter. This side looks like so, and then you have your gear dogs on that side, and this is going to get installed on the shaft this way with the gear dogs facing your third gear. Just like that. Next, you have a washer that goes on, and this washer has the little protrusions that fit into the grooves. And then you have another snap ring. I'm sliding the snap ring into place. Make sure that's in the groove. It is. Next, you're going to be installing your top driven gear, and that's this one here. I'm not going to measure this because it can't be mistaken for any of the other gears. It has dogs on one side, and it has a groove for the shift fork on the other side, and it has the splines on the inside. And it slides on in this direction with the dogs facing outward. So next, we have a washer. Then we have the bearing. Then you have low driven gear. And you have another washer. Then your drive shaft side is complete. Okay, so next we're gonna work on the counter shaft. All right, so I'm gonna orient the counter shaft with the long side to the right. That's how it is in the manual. So I'm gonna start with installing the top drive gear with the gear dogs facing this way. So it's a top drive gear. Here's the dogs. I'll give you the measurements. 13 millimeters, 63 millimeters. Okay, so this goes on like that. Next, you're gonna install a washer. And then a snap ring. I'm gonna grab my snap ring pliers and install this snap ring. Next, I'm gonna install a third drive gear. This goes with the groove for the shift fork going to the inside. Just like that. Make sure it slides freely. Next, we're going to install another snap ring. It's going to go in this groove right here. And get my snap ring pliers. These are my backup snap ring pliers. My other ones just broke. And I think these have to be the worst snap ring pliers ever invented. Right, in the groove. Nope, not in the groove. Now I'm in the groove. Next, I'm going to install the washer. I'm going to install the fourth drive gear. I'll give you the measurements. For this, it has dogs on one side, other side's clean. Diameter of the gear is 55.5 approximately millimeters, and its width, not including the dogs, is about 9.5, 10 millimeters. Okay, so that's going to be installed with the dogs facing inward so it can interconnect with the third gear. And next, we're going to install the second drive gear. Like that, and that completes the counter shaft. So now you have your two complete gear sets. They mesh together like this. Your shift forks, I'll show you this again when we're installing them into the case. So you have 2A and 1A. Okay, so these will mesh into the two gears that are on your drive shaft. Like that. And then your number 3 shift fork is right here, 3A. You don't have to worry about the first 3 numbers, 3A. So you know this is the 3rd fork. The other one says 1, the other forks say 1A and 2A. And this one is gonna fit right into that groove. And you also have your detent that mounts on this shaft, which again, we'll show you that when we're putting it into the case. This is your shift drum or shift cam. You have a set pin here. So this star can only be installed in one direction. Well, actually, I guess you could put it on backwards like that. You don't want to put it that way. It goes on with this lip facing the cam. That installs that way. And then don't forget your washer. You're also going to want to examine your shift drum. You want to take a look at these channels and make sure that you don't have any excessive wear or damage. You'll see right here that I do have some excessive wear, as well as a little bit here. The rest looks okay. But in any case, I'm going to be replacing this shift cam. I already have a new one incoming, so this one's not going back in the Quadzilla. While you have your transmission apart, you don't want to neglect to examine your shift drum or shift cam to make sure that you don't have any damage. And another piece of information that I didn't mention earlier in the video, I didn't want to leave out, but you also want to take a measurement on your shift forks across these pads to make sure that they're within spec. And I'll go ahead and I'll post that as well in the video from the service manual, so you can see what the service limit is for the shift forks. And now I'm going to install the gear sets. At the same time, I have the counter shaft and the drive shaft. Counter shaft is on the right, drive shaft's on the left. And there we go. Now I'm going to install the shift forks. I'm going to start with the drive shaft, which forks 1 and 2 will get installed. I'm going to have these set aside for when we're ready to put the shift drum in. Now I'm going to install the 3rd shift fork. Goes there. Now I'm going to install the detent arm on the bottom side of this shift fork. I'm going to have that slightly aside. Now we're going to install the shift cam with the star facing down, and make sure that you don't lose your washer that's on the end. Okay, I'm going to put the first shift fork into the cam. Kind of hard to see the angle, so let me bring the camera around. You see the shift fork is inside of the slot in the gear, and now we'll install the spring on the detent. Okay, I'm going to ensure that the first and second shift fork are in their slots. The tracks and the gears, and they are. Now I'm going to swing them inward. I have to lift this shaft up and align it into the shift cam. Go. Everything's installed, everything's spinning freely.